In the last episode, we survived the Night of Wolves. We saw Khalid bin Walid execute a masterclass in synchronized warfare, wiping out the tribal rebellion of the Euphrates in 3 terrifying nights. The survivors did not vanish. They fled north, driven like cattle before a storm. They ran to the very edge of the Arabian frontier, to a border town called Firaz. Here, the Euphrates River marks the line between worlds. To the east, the Persian Empire. To the west, the Roman Byzantine Empire. History was about to witness an event that had never occurred before. The 2 superpowers of the ancient world, Rome and Persia, sworn enemies who had bled each other white for 700 years, felt a terror deeper than their mutual hatred. For the first time, the fire of Zoroaster and the cross of Christ would stand side by side. Welcome to the Battle of Firaz. Welcome to the day of Armageddon. January 634 A.D. Khalid reaches Firaz. It is a strategic choke point where the realms of Persia, Rome, and the Arab tribes intersect. Facing him across the Euphrates is a sight that defies military logic. The Persian garrison at Firaz has been reinforced, but they are not alone. The Byzantine garrison from nearby Syria, seeing the Muslims on their doorstep, has opened its gates to their Persian enemies, and joining them both are the thousands of Christian Arab warriors, the Talib, the Ayad, the Namir, burning with revenge. The logic of the enemy is simple. We cannot defeat him alone. The Arab chiefs move between the Persian and Roman camps, stoking the fires of fear. They tell the Romans, if you do not stop him here, he will be in Syria by summer. Historians estimate this combined coalition force at over 100,000 men. It is a leviathan. Khalid commands roughly 15,000 tired warriors. The river divides them. The stage is set. The coalition commanders feel secure. They have the numbers. They have the river. They send a messenger to Khalid with a traditional challenge of position. The message is arrogant. "O Khalid, will you cross the river to us, or shall we cross to you?" This is a critical decision. If Khalid crosses, he fights with the river at his back, a position of no retreat. If he lets them cross, he risks being overwhelmed by their sheer mass. Khalid looks at the water. He sees the river not as a barrier, but as a prison. He replies with 2 words, "Cross to us." The coalition commanders smile. They interpret this as fear. They begin to build a bridge of boats. But the battle did not begin immediately. For 6 weeks, the 2 armies stared at each other across the Euphrates, and for the Muslims, this standoff brought a unique test. It was Ramadan, the month of fasting. It was the winter of 634 A.D. The days were short, but the discipline required was absolute. While the Romans and Persians feasted across the river, slaughtering cattle and drinking wine, the Muslims spent their days training in hunger and their nights in prayer. Khalid used this. He knew that men who could conquer their own appetites could conquer the world. He waited. He let the coalition's numbers become a burden. He let their different languages, Persian, Greek, Arabic, breed confusion in their crowded camp. He waited until the enemy's patience broke before his soldiers' hunger did. Pause here. Imagine the physical state of Khalid's army. They have marched across deserts, fought 3 battles in the last month, and now they're fasting. Conventional military science says they should be weak, but Khalid is betting on spiritual stamina over physical calorie count. I want to ask you, in a long standoff, does comfort make an army soft, or does hardship make it sharp? Let me know in the comments. Now, let's see the fast break.
Finally, the coalition begins to cross. It takes hours. Khalid pulls his army back. He gives them room. He wants every single soldier of the enemy on his side of the river. Why? Because Khalid intends to destroy them, not just defeat them. If they stay on the other side, they can flee into the Syrian desert. If they cross, the river becomes an anvil against which Khalid can hammer them. The coalition army forms up. It is a clumsy giant. The Persians and Romans do not trust each other. They form separate lines. They have different signals, different drumming patterns, different styles of fighting. They are crowded against the riverbank. As soon as the last enemy soldier steps off the bridge, Khalid attacks. He does not give them time to expand their formation. He strikes while they are still compressing each other. And then, the coalition's greatest strength, its diversity, becomes its fatal flaw. As the Muslim vice tightens, panic sets in. The Roman commanders shout orders in Greek. The Persian officers shout in Pahlavi. The Arab auxiliaries scream in Arabic. Confusion reigns. The Romans bump into the Persians. The Persians trample the Arabs. They run for the bridge, a single floating causeway of boats. But a bridge built for marching columns cannot handle a routed mob of 100,000. The bridge becomes a bottleneck of screaming humanity. Under the weight of heavy Roman armor and Persian chainmail, the boats begin to sink. Men push their allies into the water to save themselves. Historians record that the number of men who drowned in the Euphrates exceeded those killed by the sword. The river did not just defeat them, it swallowed them. 100,000 perished that day. With the war over, Khalid does something extraordinary, something that reveals the depth of his faith. He orders his army to march slowly back to Hira. He stays behind with a small rear guard. Then, unknown to anyone but a few trusted companions, Khalid takes a handful of riders and dashes across the desert to Mecca. He rides through the trackless waste. He arrives in Mecca just in time for the Hajj. He performs the pilgrimage secretly, incognito. He prays at the Kaaba, and then he rides back. He rides with such speed that he rejoins his army's rear guard before they enter Hira. Even his own soldiers do not know he was gone. But Khalid's energy was boundless. Upon his return, finding the Iraq front quiet, he decided to send a final message to the Persian emperor before leaving for Syria. He launched an unauthorized raid. He rode past Hira. He rode north. He rode all the way to the market of Baghdad, Souk Baghdad, the very outskirts of the imperial capital, Ctesiphon. This was not a strategic conquest. It was a slap in the face. The Persians were terrified. They thought the entire invasion had restarted. Khalid smashed the market, seized the spoils, and rode away before the imperial guard could even saddle their horses. It was the ultimate insult. He had raided the emperor's backyard and lived to tell the tale. But when he arrived at Hira, the Caliph Abu Bakr had found out about his secret Hajj. The eye of the Caliph sees everything. The letter was a rebuke, but a gentle one. You have done what no man has done, but do not risk your life and the life of the army like this again. Khalid smiled. He had conquered Iraq. He had visited the house of God. He had slapped the Persian emperor. But his destiny was not to rest in Hira. Far to the west, the Roman Empire is gathering a storm in Syria. The Muslim armies there are stalled. They are calling for help. The sword of Allah must be unsheathed once more. Next time, the impossible march. Khalid leaves Iraq to cross the suicide desert, a journey that military historians call the most dangerous approach march in history. Subscribe to the House of Wisdom. The conquest of Syria begins.